Have you ever noticed how society celebrates certain kinds of age gaps while quietly condemning others? A 50-year-old man with a 30-year-old woman, that's aspirational, powerful, even expected. But flip it around, a 45-year-old woman with a 30-year-old man, suddenly it's taboo, strange, something to whisper about. There's something fascinating happening beneath the surface of these relationships that no one talks about. Something that challenges everything we've been taught about attraction, maturity, and what makes a partnership truly work. Because while the world is busy judging, these couples are experiencing something that might actually be the most psychologically compatible matchup we've overlooked. So why does a younger man with an older woman create such a powerful dynamic? And why might this be exactly what both people need? Let's start with what you see. When a younger man chooses an older woman, people assume he has mommy issues. When an older woman dates a younger man, she's having a crisis, grasping at youth, refusing to age gracefully. The narrative is already written before these two people even meet. But here's the thing, you don't fall in love with someone because of trauma or desperation. You fall in love because something in them meets something in you. And in this particular pairing, what meets is profound. Think about where a younger man is in his life. Let's say he's 28 to 35. He's past the chaos of his early 20s. He's no longer trying to prove himself in bars or through conquest. He's building something, a career, a sense of self. He's starting to understand who he is, but he's still open, still curious, still hungry for depth. Now think about where she is. 40, 45, 50. She's lived through the performance. She's already been the young girlfriend, the wife, the mother perhaps. She's done the dance of making herself smaller, quieter, more convenient, and she's exhausted by it. She's arrived at a place where she knows herself. Not perfectly, no one ever does, but she knows what she wants, what she won't tolerate, and what actually matters. She's shed layers of pretense like old skin. And here's what's fascinating, she's finally ready to be met as herself, not as a projection. But here's where it gets complex. This isn't about him wanting a mother figure, despite what everyone assumes. It's about him wanting a woman who doesn't need him to perform, who doesn't require him to be someone he's not, who can hold space for his complexity without falling apart. Attachment theory tells us something crucial here. By the time a woman reaches her 40s or 50s, she's likely done significant emotional work, whether through therapy, life experience, or painful relationships that taught her what secure attachment looks like. She's less likely to be anxiously attached, clinging to relationships out of fear. She's less likely to be avoidantly attached, running from intimacy because it feels dangerous. She's more likely to be secure, or at least secure adjacent. She can be close without losing herself. She can give space without abandoning. And for a younger man who's figuring out his own attachment style, who's maybe recovering from toxic relationships with women his age who are still working through their own wounds, this feels like coming home. And here's what's really happening. She gives him permission to be vulnerable. Think about what younger women are often conditioned to need: security, status, the performance of masculinity, the provider, the protector, the man who has it all figured out. But she doesn't need that performance. She has her own money, her own home, her own life. She's not waiting for him to complete her. So he can be human, he can admit he's scared, he can cry, he can be uncertain about his career or his purpose without her losing faith in him. And that freedom, that's intoxicating. The psychology behind this runs deeper than simple attraction. Research on mirror neurons shows us that we're wired to reflect the emotional states of people around us. When you're with someone who's anxious, your nervous system picks up on it. You become vigilant, scanning for threats, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But when you're with someone who's genuinely at peace with themselves, your nervous system relaxes. You drop into your body. You become more present. She's not performing youth or fertility or future potential. She's just present. And that presence is magnetic. Here's the truth. Younger women are often still performing. Not because they're shallow or manipulative, but because they're conditioned to. They're taught that their value lies in being wanted, in maintaining mystery, in never fully arriving at themselves because arrival means they'll be replaced. So they stay in motion, always becoming, never being. But she's done with that. She shows up as she is. Lines on her face, grey in her hair perhaps, the body that's carried her through decades, and she's not apologizing for any of it. She's claiming space instead of shrinking into it. And this is where it gets interesting. For him, being with her becomes an education in authenticity. He learns what it looks like to be unapologetically yourself. He watches her set boundaries without crumbling into guilt. He sees her choose herself without it being selfish, and slowly he learns that he can do the same. She becomes a mirror, not for who he should be, but for who he already is. Let's talk about what no one wants to say out loud. The sex is often extraordinary. Not because she's experienced in some reductive way, but because she knows her body. She's not performing pleasure to stroke his ego. She's not faking orgasms to get it over with. She's done with sex as transaction, as validation, as proof of her desirability. She wants pleasure, real, embodied, present pleasure, and she'll tell him exactly what she needs. For a younger man, this is revolutionary. He's been trained by pornography, by locker room talk, by younger partners who didn't know themselves yet to perform sex a certain way, fast, hard, goal-oriented. But she slows him down. She teaches him that foreplay isn't a warm-up, it's the point. That her pleasure isn't his achievement, it's their shared experience. Research from the archives of sexual behavior shows that women report their best sex happening in their 40s and 50s, not their 20s. Because by that age, they've shed shame. They know what arousal actually feels like in their body versus what they've been taught it should look like. They can communicate, they can ask, they can receive, and he gets to learn from someone who's claiming her desire instead of hiding it. This creates an erotic dynamic that's rare. Mutuality, not performance, not conquest, not service, just two people actually present with each other, building something together in real time. But the truth is, this relationship asks something difficult of both of them. For her, it means confronting every internalized message about her value decreasing with age. It means walking into rooms and feeling eyes judge her. It means wondering if he'll leave when someone younger shows interest. It means battling the voice that says she's not enough, that she's stealing time from him, that she's selfish for wanting this. And maybe that's the real test. Can she hold on to herself even when the world tells her she's wrong? For him, it means confronting his own conditioning about what masculinity requires. It means explaining his relationship to friends who don't get it. It means facing the assumption that he's being used, that he's weak, that real men date women they can control. It means choosing her when society tells him he should want someone younger, fresher, more malleable. And here's what's fascinating. These challenges make the relationship stronger, not weaker, because they have to choose each other consciously. Every day, there's no cultural script supporting them, no family expectations smoothing the way, no tradition carrying them forward when things get hard. They have to build something new, something intentional, something that exists outside the ready-made narratives we're all handed. And that requires presence, communication, honesty, all the things that make relationships actually work. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. In these relationships, both people get to shed who they're supposed to be and explore who they actually are. She's not the eternal youth or the perfect mother. He's not the successful provider or the dominant protector. They're just two humans figuring out how to meet each other in their full complexity. And this is where developmental psychology offers insight. Erik Erikson talked about life stages, each with its own crisis to resolve. In your late 20s and 30s, you're working through intimacy versus isolation, learning how to truly connect without losing yourself. In your 40s and 50s, you're working through generativity versus stagnation, creating something meaningful that extends beyond yourself. When these stages meet, something alchemical happens. He's learning how to be intimate, how to be vulnerable, how to build something real with another person. She's in a generative phase where her wisdom and experience want to be shared, where she's becoming who she was always meant to be. They're not in competition, they're in complementary development. She's not raising him, she's witnessing him. He's not rescuing her, he's celebrating her. And in that mutual recognition, both people grow. But here's the thing, no one tells you. These relationships often face a unique kind of grief because the world won't celebrate them. Her friends might judge her, his family might not understand, and as the years pass, she'll age visibly while he stays younger longer. That reality sits between them, sometimes unspoken, sometimes addressed head-on. The future feels uncertain in ways it doesn't for conventional couples. And yet, maybe that uncertainty is exactly what makes them present. Maybe knowing that nothing is guaranteed, that society won't prop up this relationship, that they have to actively choose each other, maybe that's what creates the depth. Here's what happens when this relationship works. He becomes a different kind of man, not softer in a weak way, but softer in a strong way. He learns that masculinity can include tenderness, uncertainty, emotional literacy. He carries that into every other area of his life, his friendships, his work, his relationship with himself. She remembers what it feels like to be desired for who she is, not what she provides. She stops performing agelessness and starts inhabiting her age with grace. She becomes bolder, freer, more unapologetically herself. And that confidence radiates into everything she touches. But the truth is, not everyone is ready for this kind of relationship. It requires a younger man who's done enough work on himself to not need a partner as a mother or a trophy, who can hold complexity, who can receive guidance without feeling diminished, who can love someone knowing the world will judge him for it. It requires an older woman who's done enough work on herself to not need a partner as validation or fountain of youth, who can be vulnerable again after protecting herself for so long, who can accept love without testing it to death, who can let herself be seen knowing she's enough exactly as she is. And when those two people find each other, when they're both ready, the relationship becomes a sanctuary, not because it's perfect, not because it's easy, but because it's real. Let's talk about what happens over time. These relationships face unique pressures. As she enters her 50s and 60s, her body changes in ways his doesn't yet. Menopause, different energy levels, different priorities. She might want quiet when he still wants adventure. She might need rest when he's just hitting his stride, and he'll be entering his prime professional years, while she might be thinking about slowing down, about legacy, about what comes next. Their timelines don't match in conventional ways. But here's what's fascinating. Couples who navigate this well often report deeper satisfaction than traditional age-matched couples, because they've already had to communicate about everything. They've already had to negotiate difference. They've already learned that love isn't about matching perfectly, it's about meeting intentionally. Research from the Journal of Sex Research found that age gap relationships with an older woman often show higher levels of relationship satisfaction when both partners are committed to open communication and have secure attachment styles. It's not the age gap that predicts success or failure, it's the emotional maturity both people bring to the table. And maybe that's the real insight here. But here's the thing, society doesn't want to admit. We're threatened by older women claiming desire. We're threatened by younger men choosing substance over youth. We're threatened by relationships that don't serve patriarchal scripts about men accumulating and women depreciating. We're threatened by women who refuse to quietly disappear after 40. So we mock these relationships. We call her a cougar, a predator. We call him a boy toy, someone being used. We reduce their connection to pathology or perversion, because if we admitted that these relationships can be healthy, beautiful, transformative, we'd have to confront our own ageism, our own misogyny, our own fear of aging and obsolescence. And that's uncomfortable. But the truth is, every judgment about these relationships reveals more about the person judging than the couple being judged. When someone says, "What does a 45-year-old woman have in common with a 30-year-old man?" they're really saying, "I can't imagine a woman that age having anything valuable to offer beyond youth and fertility." When someone says, "He's just with her because he has mommy issues," they're really saying, "I can't imagine a man valuing emotional maturity and depth over physical conquest." These judgments are projections, and the couples who thrive learn to stop internalizing them. If you're in this kind of relationship, here's what you need to hear. Your love is valid, your attraction is real, your connection matters. You don't need to justify it to anyone. You don't need to prove it's not pathological. You don't need to wait for the world to understand. You're two adults choosing each other. That's enough. And if you're considering this kind of relationship but you're scared of judgment, scared of the future, scared of being hurt, here's the truth. Every relationship is a risk. Every love is a leap. The question isn't whether it's guaranteed to work. Nothing is. The question is whether this person is worth choosing today, tomorrow, the day after that. Age gaps don't doom relationships. Emotional immaturity does. Poor communication does. Unhealed trauma does. Lack of respect does. But two people who see each other clearly, who choose each other consciously, who build something intentional together, that has as much chance of lasting as any other love. Maybe more, because you both know what you're choosing and why. Here's what we get wrong about age gap relationships with older women. We think the power dynamic automatically favors her because she has more life experience, but power doesn't work that way. Power exists in who needs the relationship more, in who's willing to walk away, in who holds more social capital. And in a relationship between a younger man and an older woman, he often holds more power than we admit, because he can leave and find another partner easily. Society will celebrate his next relationship if she's younger. He has time, options, social approval waiting for him. She has less obvious power. She's breaking rules by being with him. She might fear he'll leave for someone younger. She's acutely aware of how temporary this could be. So the power isn't as simple as age equals authority. And maybe that's actually what makes these relationships more equal than traditional ones, because both people know they're choosing something countercultural. Both people have to show up actively. Neither person can coast on social scripts. But here's what's really at the heart of why these relationships work when they do. They're built on choice, not convenience. On presence, not potential. on seeing each other clearly, not through the fog of what you wish the other person would become. He's not waiting for her to be younger. She's not waiting for him to be older. They're meeting exactly where they both are. And in that meeting, something rare happens. Acceptance. Not the resignation kind of acceptance. The celebratory kind. The kind that says, I see all of you, your age, your past, your wounds, your wisdom, your uncertainty, your strength, and I want this. I want you. And when you've been seen like that, when you've experienced what it feels like to be chosen, not despite who you are, but because of who you are, everything changes. You stop performing, you stop hiding, you stop making yourself smaller to fit into someone else's idea of what you should be. You just exist, fully, imperfectly, presently. And maybe that's the real gift these relationships offer. Not a solution to loneliness, not a rebellion against society, not a phase or a crisis, but a chance to be fully human with another fully human person. So here's where we circle back to the beginning. Society tells us certain pairings make sense and others don't. It draws lines around who should love whom, when, and why. It creates rules about depreciation and value, about who ages gracefully and who's desperately clinging. But love doesn't follow those rules. Connection doesn't care about what makes sense on paper. And maybe the reason a younger man and an older woman can create such powerful partnerships is because they've both stepped outside the script. They've both said, I'd rather have this real thing than a relationship that looks right from the outside. That takes courage from both of them. If you're in this kind of relationship, know this. You're not confused. You're not damaged. You're not wrong. You're two people building something rare in a world that mass produces love according to formulas that don't actually work. And if you're watching this wondering if you should take the leap, if you should pursue that connection with someone who doesn't fit the timeline you imagined, ask yourself this. Would you rather have a love that makes sense to everyone else, or a love that makes sense to your soul? Because in the end, the best matchup isn't about age. It's not about perfect compatibility or matching life stages. It's about two people who see each other, who choose each other, who build something together that exists nowhere else in the world. And when you find that, regardless of age, regardless of what anyone thinks, you hold on to it. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours. And maybe that's the only validation any of us really need.